Federal judge dismisses case from the January 6th, what they called an insurrection, against the local man. The Versailles man was facing serious charges. He was charged with his involvement in the January 6th events at the U.S. Capitol, but he had that case dismissed. Matthew Loganville was indicted on 5 counts related to that day. Just crazy, 5 counts.
Yeah, tampering with a witness, victim, or informant, remaining in a restricted building or grounds, which is, of course, was the Capitol, disruptive conduct in a restricted building or grounds, disorderly conduct in a Capitol building, and parading, demonstrating, or picketing in a Capitol building. Those were the 5 charges against him. Loganville's case was dismissed by U.S. District Judge Amy Berman on Wednesday, August 16th, after a judge determined that Loganville's right to a speedy trial had been violated. And this is happening with almost all of these January 6th things. It's like they have nothing real to charge or prove against these people, so they're just locking them away, and they're sitting there in prison while the government is just raking them over the coals, basically. And thank goodness for these judges who stepped up finally and said, this is not right. This is not a speedy trial. There's nothing to these charges. And so they dropped it, which thank God for that, man.
Yeah.
I tell you what, it's some pretty scary stuff if the government can lock you up, throw away the key, and not follow through on charges like this.
And we're talking about literally this guy from Versailles was at this event on camera, and that was the extent, because he was on property. All of those 5 counts came from being there and there being video clips, because this is such a wild time, but to see this was potentially going to lock somebody up for many, many years.
Yeah.
Thank goodness, as you alluded to, for these federal judges, because you're seeing this happen with more and more of these cases. I mean, what were they planning on doing to all of these people that were at the Capitol on January 6th? They're going to lock them away for good and, like you said, throw away the key?
Yeah, and they would if certain people hadn't made a big deal out of this. But they're charged with these various trespass offenses for entering the Capitol on January 6th. And just let them sit there, and nobody was hurt. Nobody was harmed, so there was really no reason for this. But, we saw that circus of the, what did they call it, the January 6th
insurrection.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous, and they're still not releasing the tapes. I don't understand that. But they did have a note. The case was dismissed by the judge without prejudice, which means the charges could be refiled against Loganville in the future. So that's a little bit scary.
But they would have a long list of people that have to go after, and I would say the federal government has their hands full based on where the IRS and the CIA and all these other weaponized agencies are at.
Yeah.
That would be probably not wise, but it is our federal government.
It's interesting. I saw, who was it? One of the former leaders of the House who said last week, it was Newt Gingrich is who it was. He said last week, we are in the worst constitutional crisis in our country since the 1850s. And if you think about it, the 1850s, that was a decade just before the Civil War. And if we're back into that constitutional crisis arena, like Gingrich says, then, obviously we're in a bad position. Our country is in trouble right now, in a really bad position.